is Audrey, and in this video I'm going to tell you about the events about the Indonesian Proclamation with the following subtopics. 1. Kuniaki Koiso. 2. The Dokuritsu Jonmei Chosakai. And 3. The Rengas Tengklok Affair. Alright, so my first keyword, the one that I chose, was Lieutenant General Kumakichi Harada. Let me tell you a bit about the man. Back then, he was the Lieutenant General of the Japanese 16th Army, as well as the head of Dai Nippon in charge of the island of Java. On March 1st, 1945, in one of his speeches, in his only speech, I guess, he announced the formation of the Dokuritsu Junmi Chosakai, which is the Japanese term for BPUPKI, Badan Penyelidik Usaha-Usaha Persiapan Kemerdekaan Indonesia. For further explanations about its purpose, the members, it will be explained by my partner later on. Alright, now I'm going to talk to you about the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings. As for the dates, Hiroshima was bombed on the 6th of August 1945, while Nagasaki was bombed on the 9th of August 1945. Now, I'm going to tell you something interesting, but for not too long. So, why exactly did the Allies choose to bomb these two specific cities? Why not the others? Well, for Hiroshima, one thing I can tell you is that it was the perfect choice. The land was flat, that means the devastation and the effectiveness of the bomb would be huge, and it was densely populated at the time. It was also the center of the army gathering. It was, and it was an important place. It had an important port that was usually the place for embarkation of soldiers. All of that is located at the center of Hiroshima itself, so it was perfect, basically. It hit the center, and then the others basically got destroyed along with it. It's a sure shot. As for Nagasaki, it was actually reconsidered. Basically, they had to go to a few other cities, and actually, it wasn't Nagasaki. It was supposed to be Kokura, but because of a technical difficulty, Fat Man, the pilot who was supposed to be Fat Man, arrived 30 minutes late, giving enough time for smoke clouds to form over Kokura because of a neighboring bomb of Yahata. Basically, the smoke formed there, and it obscured the line of sight of the pilot, and the Allies thought, oh no, what if we do hit target? So they went to the nearest town, which happened to be, the first option, Nagasaki. And Nagasaki wasn't a bad option per se. They just didn't choose it. Originally didn't choose it because it had a lot of hills in its geography, and if there were a lot of hills, devastation in the area of the bomb wouldn't be big. But, they had no other choice in this one. So, Nagasaki isn't all that bad. It has one of the largest ports in South Japan, and it was also the center of industrial activity. Basically, it held one of Japan's biggest factories to make military assets. And as for the impact, for the short-term impact, because Hiroshima didn't, scare Emperor Hirohito enough, even though it should have, immediate effect of both the bombings is the unconditional surrender, which Hirohito reported in his speech in 15 August 1945. And as for the long-term effect, for Nagasaki and Hiroshima, the bombs spilled out radiation, and the people there already died from they either died from immediate impact of the bomb, or later on they died from radiation. Now we go to PPK, Dokuritsu Junbi Inkai. So the date here is the date in which PPUPKI was dispersed, and it's the date where they were formed. PPKI was formed August 7th, 1945. Okay, as for the members, I'm not going to tell you specifically who they are or their ethnicity and all that, but I can tell you that there are 21 members, at least the first time, including, this is what you need to remember, the president and vice president, which was Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta, respectively. And then 6 other members joined without the Japanese knowing. So all in all, the total of the members are 27 members. The purpose, well, if you'll listen to the purpose of PPUPKI later, it's the same. It's basically to continue what PPUPKI couldn't, because, well, the reason why Japanese dispersed PPUPKI in the first place because they believed that PPUPKI gave a way too early date of independence for Indonesia. As for the cancelled meeting, the meaning behind this is it's the young people that decided to sabotage the meeting because they didn't want Indonesia's independence date to be a gift from the Japanese, because this meeting was basically to discuss that topic further, and they didn't want, especially Muhammad Hatta and Sukarno, to be associated that much with the Japanese, because PPKI is made by Japanese. It's a cooperative organization. Next keyword is Dawat, Vietnam. This is the name of a place in Vietnam, obviously. As for when, well, the 3 figures were called by Great General Tarauchi on the 12th of August 1945. The 3 figures that I talked about are the president and vice president of PPKI, as I've mentioned before, Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta, respectively. As for the 3rd member, they were the ex or former head of PPUPKI, Dr. Rajiman Wedyodiningrat. So, yes, Tarauchi's statements. While they were there, Tarauchi was there to, officially give them the order that the statements that contained him basically, yes, Indonesia can have their independence. So there were, I'm gonna tell you 4 of his statements. First is, so the Japanese granting independence, obviously. Second one being PPUPKI. PPKI is being replaced by PPUPKI is being replaced by PPKI, and then the independence should be gradually given. So weirdly enough, they wanted to start from Java and then the rest of the Indonesia, and then that the area of Indonesia is basically everything that once belonged to the Dutch East Indies. Okay, so the second to last keyword is 15 August 1945. So, as I've mentioned briefly before, if you remembered where I talked about Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings, Emperor Hirohito's speech. So basically, the handout was unclear, and I'm just here to clarify it, that while the unconditional surrender did happen on the 15th of August 1945, it was actually just through the broadcasted speech in the radio by Emperor Hirohito himself, stating that yes, it's the end of the reign of the Imperial Japan because of a new and dangerous bomb, referring to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And yeah, for the actual official signing in the USS Missouri, I will be explaining that in the next slide. It didn't happen in this date, which is why I just found out as well as I did research, so thank God. I was really confused about that. And yeah, then we go to the young people's meetings, or scheming of Rengas Dengklok. Scheming is basically planning, and so the young people, led by a man named Chairul Saleh, they went to a microbiology lab in Pegangsaan Timur, and from this unofficial meeting of the young people, they reached two conclusions. The first one is to push Sukarno and Dr. Muhammad Hatta, there as Muhammad Hatta, to cut off their binds, basically not associate themselves with the Japanese anymore, especially regarding Indonesia's independence, and let them talk to the young people instead. And the second one is to push them again, but this time it's to push them to proclaim Indonesia's independence independently without the Japan interfering by the latest of 16th August 1945. And yeah, so as I said, it'll be explained in the next slide. This will be more trivial side of information, but I still hope that it'll be important to anyone out there watching. So the USS Missouri is the name of a American Navy ship, and it was parked in Tokyo Bay back then, where the signing happened. The signing of the official Japanese Instrument of Surrender aboard USS Missouri on Tokyo Bay was actually on September 2nd, 1945, not the 15th of August, 1945. And as for the representatives, for the names, there are a lot of them. There are like 10 countries that signed them, so I'm not going to say their names, but I can tell you the 10 countries, which is of course Japan and America, the two main ones. And then they had the Uni Soviet, they had the Republic of China, the representatives from the United Kingdoms, and then Canada, Australia, New Zealand, in the Netherlands, and France. Yeah. So that's it for part 1. Thank you.
Next is status quo. As one of the contents of agreement of Japan's surrender, they were asked to keep status quo, which means keeping the situation and condition as it is and cannot make any policy. And then next is Kuniaki Koiso. Kuniaki Koiso is Japan's prime minister, and he made the Koiso's promise, which is the promise that he will give Indonesian independence on 24th August 1945. It was made on 7 September 1944. And then next is Dokuritsu Junbi Chosakai, or BPUPKI. It is legalized on 29th of April 1945 on Emperor Hirohito's birthday. The background: it is formed because Japanese position of power in Indonesia has been threatened. So this organization was made for their own good by captivating the Indonesian people's heart, and so they can keep their power and also their colonial politics. Its main task is to study and investigate the various things that are related to the politic factors, governance system, economics, and other things that are needed to make Indonesia independent. And the first trial, it is held in Chul Sang-in building, which is now known as the Pancasila building. It is opened on 28 May 1945 and started on the next day on 29 May 1945. It is about the formulation of the Indonesian state. It finished on the 1st June 1945 because the trial haven't reached a final decision. They created a small committee called the Panitia 9, and the committee created the Jakarta Charter. The second trial, it is from 10 to 17 July 1945 about the UUD and the preamble of the UUD. Designer Committee, led by Sukarno. He delivered three important things, which are the statement of Indonesian independence, the opening of UUD, and the UUD itself. Next is the old and young people. The old people, some of the old people are Ir Sukarno, Ahmad Subarjo, Muhammad Hatta, Mas Mansur, Ki Hajar Dewantara, Muhammad Yamin, Iwa Kusuma Sumantri, and others. Some of the young people are Chairul Saleh, Adam Malik, Sukarni, Wikana, Sharif Tayyib, and Sayoko. They have a difference in opinion. The old people have opinions that the Proclamation of Indonesia independence should be well prepared, peacefully without any bloodshed, and take place through the PPKI meeting. They applied a cooperative attitude towards the Japan. But the young people have opinion that the proclamation shouldn't be through the PPKI because it is an organization that was made by Japan. Proclamation should be held as soon as possible. And they thought that the old people are too slow and they are stalling the proclamation on purpose. They act non-cooperative. On 15 August 1945, the young people discussed and decided that the independence have no relation to the promise that Japan made. This decision was delivered to Ir Sukarno, but then it was rejected. And because of Ir Sukarno's rejection, the young people kidnapped him and Muhammad Hatta to Rengas Dengklok. Their objectives is to prevent the Japanese influence over Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta, and so they want to proclaim independence immediately. Meanwhile, in Jakarta, a representative of the old group, Ahmad Subarjo, and the young group, Wikana, have a discussion and reach a decision that the proclamation will be held in Jakarta the next day, the latest at 12 p.m. Rengas Dengklok is a good place to hide Ir Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta because it is quite far from Jakarta and from Japanese military supervision that had knew that the plan of reading the Proclamation of Indonesian independence. So, the conclusion of this presentation. First, the Dokuritsu Genbicho Sakai or BPUPKI was made on 1st March 1945 but was legalized on 29 April 1945. The announcement was delivered by Lieutenant General Kumakichi Harada, the commander of the 16th Japanese Army. Hiroshima and Nagasaki were chosen for their population count, geographical state, and the fact that they had important military assets. and the impact led to Japan's long-awaited unconditional surrender. The young people planned to sabotage both PPKI meetings because they felt that Indonesia's independence shouldn't be seen as Japan's gift by not following their date, as PPKI was a cooperative organization made by them. Terauchi statements include the Japanese granting independence, PPU-PKI replaced by PPKI, independence should be granted in Java first, then gradually spread to other islands, and the Indonesian territory encompasses everything that has previously belonged to the Dutch East Indies. There were two decisions regarding to the Shimeng, pressing Bung Karno and Bung Hatta to first sever ties with the Japanese and discuss with the young people, and second, to proclaim Indonesia's independence no later than the 16th of August 1945. And then Kuniaki Koiso is Japan's prime minister from 1944 to 1945 that made a promise to Indonesia on 7 September 1944, where Indonesia can have their independence on 24th of August 1945. It is called the Koiso's Promise. Then the Koritsu Junbi Chosakai, or BPUPKI, is formed by Japan to captivate Indonesian people's heart so they can keep their power in Indonesia, and their leader is Rajiman Wedioningrat, and their main task is to investigate various factors that are needed to make Indonesia independent. In the first meeting, they created Panitia 9. And the second meeting, Soekarno delivered three things, which are the Statement of Indonesian Independence, the opening of UUD, and the UUD itself. Some members of the old group are I.R. Soekarno, Ahmad Subarjo, Muhammad Hatta, Mas Mansur, Ki Hajar Dewantara, Muhammad Yamin, and Iwakusuma Sumantri, and others. They act cooperative while the young group, which some of them are Chairul Saleh, Adam Malik, Sukarni, Wikana, and Sayoko, and others, they act non-cooperative. On 15 August 1945, the young group delivered their opinion that Indonesian independence have no relation with Japan at all. The young group delivered their opinions to I.R. Soekarno, but then it was rejected. Because of the rejection, the young group kidnapped the Soekarno and Muhammad Hatta to Rengas Dengklok to prevent the Japanese influence over them. Rengas Dengklok is a good place to hit them because it is far from Jakarta and from Japanese military supervision. The trivia. First, the ambition of Japanese expansion was stopped militarily by the Allies. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki left Japan with no choice but to surrender. Japan surrendered unconditionally to the Allies on second. The condition when Japan surrendered unconditionally to the Allies on August 14, 1945, until the time period between the signing of the surrender of Japan before the Proclamation of Republic of Indonesia's independence was called. Third, on the same date, when Nagasaki was bombed, three Indonesian figures were summoned to Japanese Armed Force headquarters in Southeast Asia in Dalat, Vietnam. The call was made upon the request of Ford. The three Indonesian leaders who were summoned to the headquarters of the Japanese Armed Force in Southeast Asia located in Dalat, Vietnam were: Fifth, the incident that occurred on August 16, 1945, around 4 a.m., when Sukarno and Hatta were urged by young people to immediately proclaim independence without Japanese intervention, is known as. And that's it. Thank you.